Time's up, Admiral.
Here it comes.
Chevron 1, encoded.
For my ally is the Force, and the powerful ally it is. Life creates it, makes it grow.
You failed, Your Highness. I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
Cry havoc, and let's set the dogs of war.
Chevron 2 encoded.
Conan, what is best in life? Crush your enemies, see them driven before you, to hear the lamentation of the women.
It's all in the reflexes.
Paul also said you're heavy into martial arts, Tai Chi and all that killer stuff.
I suppose we have to register you as a lethal weapon.
Chevron 3 encoded.
And somebody ought to belt you in the mouth. But I won't. I won't. The hell I will.
Chevron 4 encoded.
Do you expect me to talk? No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
Chevron 5 encoded.
You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Chevron 6 encoded.
Not for why you can, little boy.
Great Scott.
Back off, man. I'm a scientist.
You shall not pass! I thought I'd die fighting side by side with an elf.
What about side by side with a friend?
A day may come when the courage of men fails, when we forsake our friends and break all bonds of fellowship. But it is not this day.
Chevron 7 is locked.
Howdy and hail. Welcome, everybody. Saturday Night Drive-In is back for 2024. And for the first time, because I'm a retard. I am a full-blown boomer retard. It occurred to me just today, Adam, why aren't we simulcasting across both channels? So for the first time, also on Jed's channel, welcome, everybody, to Saturday Night Drive-In, where we take a break from the nonsense of the week and just enjoy a good movie, have a good discussion, and maybe, just maybe, forget our woes. Jed, I haven't seen you all week. How are you?
I'm doing great. Yes, it has been some time. I mean, we did briefly see each other for Roundtable, but before that, had to take a lot of December off, and it was weird. It was very weird, but it is great to be back here with Saturday Night Drive-In and on my channel for the first one this year. That feels apt, if nothing else. If we were going to do it late in the game, this seemed like the appropriate time to do it, but I'm happy to be here as usual with you, but this movie is not what I expected, so I'm excited to at least jump into the conversation and
it's
see
80s goodness. It's
what's going
80s
on.
goodness. It's 80s goodness. Anyway, all right, guys, we are here to talk this week about the Michael J. Fox 1987 or 88, depending on when you decide it. Classic, cult classic, The Secret of My Success, the story of Brantley Foster, who just wants to be rich and have it all. It's very simple. And he goes through dude, this movie is 80s to the T. It really is. This is your first time seeing it, Jed. How are you feeling now that I made you watch something once again you've never seen before?
Well, to be clear, it's not just that I had never seen it before. Yeah. I'd never even heard of it. I watched the trailer right before watching it. That's when I found out Michael J. Fox was in it. So I really had no idea. The trailer made it look like a rom-com full to the max and not like what it actually was. Focusing on
it's not a romantic comedy.
No, but that's what the trailer looked like. And so I had no idea what to expect. And it still somehow subverted my lack of expectations.
I'm not sure how to take that. Oh, man. So, all right. For those, just for the recap, Brantley Foster, a young man, I believe, from Kansas, if I remember correctly. Mm-hmm. He's from Kansas. He is a college graduate, maybe even a business school graduate. It's one of those things that's a little murky. one of my few complaints about the movie. He's ready to go to the big city. He wants to make it big. Go to New York City. This late '80s New York, where money is king, capitalism is king. You are there to either win or lose, and he has a job ready to go. But he gets there, and what happens? It's had a hostile takeover. The business he was going to be a part of is done. It's over, and suddenly he is just not necessarily on the street, but he has no real job. And he then has to find it. And he was given a suggestion by his family to connect with a family member, Uncle Howard Prescott, the current CEO president of Prescott Industries, which is essentially it's like a manufacturing company and a shipping company. Back in the day when all those businesses were kind of all in one thing, and it does a lot. Has a countrywide reach. And he just wants to get a leg up, and he has stuck in the mailroom. And from there, suddenly he has designs on basically hitting it rich. But he realizes that a small criticism, the arrogance of youth. Oh, I can do this better. Because he sees that everything is corrupt and broken with the higher ups who aren't doing anything, as the company's about to be suffering its own hostile takeover. And thus the adventure, for lack of a better term, ensues as he secretly climbs the corporate ladder while finding love and sex and money and power, and doing shenanigans here and there. That kind of sums it up, doesn't it, Jet?
I mean, as much as you can sum up a movie like this, it's really Kansas boy comes to New York, has everything handed to him by coincidence, not by the people around him, and magics his way up to CEO within a couple months.
Yeah. Dude, it's 80s. It's turn your braid off 80s.
It is so dumb.
But it's fun. It's dumb fun because Michael J. Fox puts on a Michael J. Fox performance. This is him nearing the peak of his career because he's already had the success of Back to the Future. He's had a couple of movies, and now he's going to hit that streak in the 90s where he did a bunch of movies that have basically aged well, where he waffled back and forth between semi-comedy, semi-adventure, and semi-serious. And this was one of those bridge movies that, while not having a mega cast, didn't propel him, it kept him on his steady course of his career. Because again, he had Back to the Future, he was coming off Family Ties, he had a lot of success, and people liked Michael J. Fox, and that's why they went to see this movie and enjoy it most of the time.
I'm not certain of this, but I'm pretty sure this is the first non-Back to the Future Michael J. Fox film I've seen.
Really?
Yeah, and I was unimpressed. It feels like the same performance. I was hoping for something slightly different.
That's the thing. This is mid to late 80s Michael J. Fox, where he's just kind of doing the same thing. Now, next Halloween, I'll say this now, we're going to watch The Frighteners for Halloween next year on my choice. That is a Michael J. Fox horror movie. I picked it up for a good price this year. It's one of my few ones. I believe also Peter Jackson directed that movie. So it's an
Peter Jackson did some weird stuff outside Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, but it's
like
a good
Bound.
one. I like that one. So I'll let you know now. We're going to watch that for Halloween. That's a Michael J. Fox one. That's, I believe it's mid to late 90s, if I'm not wrong. Either way. So, but yeah, you're not wrong that this is Michael J. Fox doing Michael J. Fox. I'm the peppy, optimistic kid who's gonna do this and no matter what. And this is the adventure that I'm on. And that's what he did in the 80s. That was his shtick. And he changed it a little bit in the 90s with movies like what was it called? Life with Mikey. What was the other one where he was the hotel guy? Somebody forgot that title of that one. Damn. Anyway, so he changed up. But this one is still pure 80s. And let's walk through this. Again, Brantley Foster, not a complicated character. Not a complicated character at all.
No. Not in the least. And that's a big criticism of mine is the characters. None of them seem all that interesting to me. Yeah, Michael J. Fox is fun. He's got charisma as an actor, and of course that translates over to the character to a certain extent, but he doesn't really, like, the whole movie is about him struggling to the top, yes, but it doesn't feel like he struggles. Like, he doesn't go through a character arc. He doesn't learn anything. He doesn't have real trials besides, oh, I'm going to make it to the top. He makes it to the top relatively easily, like no one has in the history of New York City. So, like, I wanted a little bit more trial, a lot of maybe some self-reflection where he's like, I was too optimistic coming out of Kansas. I had no idea what I was getting into, and maybe some maturity that comes along with those realizations, a tampering of his boyish charm, as his aunt puts it. And we didn't see that. He didn't evolve. He didn't mature. He was just knew he was great, and then he found out he was great, and everyone finally realized he was great by the end of it. It's the hero's journey. This is the same character arc as Rey Skywalker.
But his charisma and that Brantley isn't an asshole makes you root for him still. And Andy Pickle, I can answer that. Jeffrey Combs. Jeffrey Combs. Very easy answer. I know my shit. Anyway, yeah, you're not wrong. But here's the difference. Why I'm not gonna say it's a hero's journey. He's not insufferable.
That's true. That is an important distinction.
He's not insufferable. He's a likable guy, and he wants to do good. He's not trying to take advantage of other people. He's just trying to earn it. And here's my counter to that. He went into the whole thing. He had his job. He was ready to work it normally, get a regular job, but then it fell apart. And what I like about the beginning of the movie is that whole horrible chain of events of union experience, but you don't have experience. But how am I going to get experience?
That montage hit home. Everyone who's tried to get a job knows what that's like. Even the whole DEI stuff. I was surprised about that from the 80s. Like, can you become a minority woman?
I know.
What year did this come out?
Dude,
that montage I did appreciate. It struck
Yeah.
very close to home.
Yeah.
But you also mentioned another problem with his character, at least to me, is his whole idea of making it himself. He's not going to take help from his aunt. He's not going to
But he takes help in the end.
No, even before that, the whole idea of him lying, pretending to be this other person, and using subterfuge to get to this high-end executive spot is cheating, taking shortcuts, and not earning his way to the top. His entire character motive is earning his way to the top, and he doesn't do that at any point during the film. And yes, once he gets there, he proves that he has the right to stay there, but he still didn't do what his entire character motive was, to prove that he earned his way up.
I sort of see that. I still look at that as he was dealt this shitty hand in the end, where everything was supposed to go the way he expected it, and then, as we said, the montage of experience versus no experience, all that stuff, and then okay, I'm left with nothing. And even when Aunt Vera says, I will introduce you to my husband, of course, he finds out 5 minutes later it's Uncle Howard. He then says, the way I look at it, let me phrase that. The way I look at it is he's taking advantage of this point with all that's left to him. And
right. No, his decisions aren't reprehensible. I see where he's coming from, but it contradicts his entire character motive of earning his way to the top. So if he hadn't made such a big deal about earning his way to the top, it would have been fine. He's just a smart kid who's doing the best with the hand he's dealt. No problem with that. It's the contradiction I have a problem with, not the morality.
I don't quite feel it as hard as you, but I understand what you're saying. I see it as he's just said at this point, that's it. I'm going to just go for this. Because what I do like about this movie, though, is even at the time, 80s, greed is king. Greed is everything. Capitalism, laissez-faire economy, let's go. It does give a small critique to the bloatedness of bureaucracy of a corporation, where a giant corporation has no idea what's going on internally, that this dude from the mailroom can just pop in there and suddenly steer this entire corporation with just ideas that the bloated bureaucracy is ignoring. And I appreciate that criticism of it. That even though it's promoting success in business, it's still criticizing it at the same time. Maybe I'm looking too deeply into it, but I mean, I've been watching this movie for decades, and I just watched it recently, which is why I decided to put it up here. And I thought, wow, I'm looking at it a little differently. Also, because I got to admit this. I like to watch these movies that deal with business, because these economic things that happen in them, they pique my interest, and as an adult, I understand them better than I did as the kid that watched it. Because I watched this movie when I literally was a kid, and it didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Although I understood, yeah, I'd like to have sex with Helen Slater. Yeah, I understood that part, but I didn't understand the rest of it. And
the hostile takeover stuff is they try to make it sound all epic, like that montage. I hate that montage at the house.
Yeah, there's my criticisms. I'll get into that. I do have criticisms about that. Trust me. Having watched a lot of movies, something especially some of the chat know I love Noble House. I love the miniseries adaptation of the book, and that shows a down in the dirt, gritty adaptation of how a hostile takeover happens, as opposed to this, which kind of just hostile takeover. Here comes.
Yeah, I was using buzzwords that people would recognize.
Yeah, but that doesn't take away from my overall enjoyment of the flow of the movie. You got to admit, the movie flows nicely. It's a very simple structure. It's not overcomplicated. And as you just said, you just mentioned it, montages. We talked about this when we were talking about Rocky. Damn, does this movie lean heavily on the montages?
Way harder than Rocky, though. It used montage tropes in scenes that weren't montages. I feel like a quarter of the movie was Michael J. Fox staring at something while a song blared out aggressively, depicting everything that was going on in his mind at that exact moment for way longer than it should.
And there is one of my few faults. The montages are misplaced, and oftentimes it reuses scenes we already saw. It's like, why are we seeing this scene again? The scene was fine where it was. Why am I seeing him talking about this, talking about that again? We've already done this.
A good editor needed to come in and trim this movie. I feel like there's a good at least 20 maybe minutes. 30 minutes that could be trimmed out.
You're not wrong. But
especially that montage, my least favorite montage is the one outside the house where all the sound is gone and everyone's just like smiling and nodding at Michael J. Fox for 20 minutes.
But see, it's an annoying montage, but again, I understand what it's doing. It's again putting the bloated bureaucracy up against the new, fresh ideas, and you're seeing the old guard struggling with their plans while Brantley is wooing the big money business, the big money of New York. And I appreciate it because even though it's annoying, it is set up for the climax where the money men come in as his backers. Now, again, there's the legitimate question. He just talked to them for a minute at a party, and they're ready to throw probably at the time just tens of millions of dollars behind him.
At least, because they had to get a controlling share of the rival company's stock. That's got to be a godless amount of money. And they did mention that it was partially due to the reputation of the daughter, Vera's reputation as the daughter of the founder that led them to make that decision. But they're still investing in a guy who they met at a party who had some nice words.
Yeah. But here's the thing. Here's why this movie is still charming, because I'm still okay with it. I'm still okay with all of it because, again, Brantley Foster, Michael J. Fox gives a Michael J. Fox 1980s performance where I'm rooting for him. Even though every other character in the movie kind of sucks.
Every one of them. Except the parents. The parents were fine.
Oh, that's the parents. We don't count that.
They're not even a supporting character.
Yeah, they're a flashback. They're a flashback. But let's go through it. Helen Slater's character. I don't even remember her name. Let me look it up real quick. Christy. Christy's a whore. Christy's a whore. I'm going to say it. And I like this movie, but we're being honest and objective here.
And Michael calls him out on it.
Yeah. Yo.
He really calls her out on the sleeping around. It's like, oh, you're just going to go to a new company and sleep your way to the top.
Yep.
But just think about calling back Michael character calling back to his parents and say, oh yeah, I took over my uncle's company, left him destitute, slept with his wife, made her the CEO, slept with his mistress, gonna marry her.
Hey, now listen, I was talking to Devil about this on Monday when I was hemming and hawing about this or switching channels, which I'm going to make you watch too, because that's Burt Reynolds, Kathleen Turner, and Christopher Reeve. I love that movie so much. But we're talking about this, and Devil brought up a point, and Devil was going to join us, guys, but he had conflicting schedules. He had too many streams he signed up for today, so he couldn't be here with us. But he brought up a point, so I'm going to bring it up here. Again, 1980s ahead of its time, step fantasy. Michael J. Fox and his step aunt. It's foreseeing the future. Back in the day, though, that was kind of a risque thing to do in the movie, that he's sleeping with his aunt, which isn't really his aunt, but still some might view as incest. And how do you feel looking with it our beer goggles of today? How do you feel about that whole thing going on there?
I wouldn't classify it as incest, obviously, because there's no blood relation.
No blood,
I think the more the risque aspect of it that I don't morally agree with, at least, is the married aspect of it. Her being married is where the problem comes in for me. But obviously, characters have different moralities. I think it makes sense with the position he was in. Like, what else was he going to do? And I'm going to say it, she tried to sexually assault him in her husband's office. That was straight up, like, if that was today, if that was a man at any point, she would be in prison. And she's not the only one. So another thing that the movie doesn't even mention is the legal repercussions of Brentley's decisions. It's not just, they only focus on, if they find out, they're going to fire you. That's fraud. That's fraud. That's prison time. And no one even addresses it when he casually like tells the whole board, "Oh yeah, they think I'm they think I'm Whitmore. I'm actually Brentley." And it's just so casual. And it's like, no, you just because your boss fired you doesn't mean that there aren't going to be legal repercussions. And you imagine that someone as hateful and spiteful as his uncle would pursue those legal ramifications, especially after what he thought Whitmore was doing.
But again, this is 80s. The whole idea of this movie is to get behind your plucky young hero, where he's going to race to the top, and he's gonna make all kinds of fun decisions along the way, have fun sexual escapades, and just win out in the end over the bad guy. And real quick, Fernandez T for $10. Happy weekend, fellow nerds. Let's go Rams. Not that you guys care, but it's my super chat, damn it, joke. Hey, man, it's your super chat. You could say whatever you want within the terms of service of YouTube. And we don't often get them here on Drive-In, so thank you, Fernandez T, for the $10. As always, your support is appreciated. And I don't watch sports ball anymore, so back in the day, I cared about my Giants. I don't care anymore. So
Rams, that's football, yes?
Yes, that is football.
Hey, I got that much right.
What do you know? I used to be a sports nerd. I'm not anymore. I used to be into basketball, football, baseball. I used to be into all of it, but that was literally a decade or more ago. I gave it all up with the stuff like that. But hail Fernandez, thank you again. Anyway, Christy's a whore, and she's and let's be honest.
You need to get tested after sleeping with her.
Maybe, but also she's. Listen.
Say it.
What? I don't know. You don't know. I don't think I'm gonna go where you think I'm gonna go.
Oh, I thought you were gonna call her a bitch.
Oh, well, yeah, she could be a bitch, but at the beginning, ice queen bitch. But here's the problem. Again, guys, I like this movie. What I'm saying is though that you can like a movie but still find the faults with it.
Absolutely.
Christy, her character is wishy-washy.
Very wishy-washy.
She goes with the wind, and basically she goes with whoever's plowing her.
Oh, the way her relationship with Brentley changes on a dime is ridiculous. At one moment, stay away from me. Oh, maybe I might like you too. At the party where she's like, oh my God, it's you. Hello. Oh.
All right, that leads to something. I think, and here's one of my this is a tried and true criticism I have of all the stuff we go over. Passage of time. They don't really let us know.
Oh, this could be a month. This could be 2 years.
I mean, and I wouldn't say years. I figure weeks to months, it feels like, but they don't quantify it enough for me. That's one of my real few annoyances. That, I mean, I'm giving
that's a drawback of montages. Is often it's difficult to tell the passage of time, and I think it's important to see how long it took him.
I think that Christy and Brantley have spent more time together than the movie actually shows you. It feels like they've been working on the defense to the hostile takeover. I think it's supposed to be more than just a weekend or a couple
There are
days.
some awkward cuts when it comes to that. Like there's the initial conversation where she needs to go out and eat, and they go out to eat together, and then later on, while they're walking home, seemingly from that date, she mentions that
there's more information than you think.
Yeah, she's like, after we talked last, I went and researched this. Is this a different night? Is this following up on the date we just saw? There seemed to be a scene maybe missing there. And that was the thing. I think one of the biggest problems with this movie is editing. Editing.
Oh, that's my one. This is perhaps my biggest pet peeve, because how I am with continuity. I want things to look right, sound right, feel right, stay the way they should, frame to frame. There are 2 scenes in this movie which are so evident of reshoots. It's as though the editing didn't care. I bet you saw them too. Right when he decides to be Whitfield for the first time and he's sitting in the office, and then it cuts away and it cuts back, his hair is 3 inches longer and a different color. Michael J. Fox. That's been eating me for decades. That scene has been eating me for decades. And there's another one later down in the movie. I think it's the elevator scene when after they've all been fired. Again, his hair is longer and a different color. For the love of God.
Just at least put a hat on him or something.
Or the scene. I mean, just cut his hair again. I don't care if he was doing something for another movie. That moment takes me out right there because I realize, wow, my suspension of disbelief has been blown because his hair is shorter and it's brown, not sort of ginger brown anymore, which is the majority, which is 98% of the color and the haircut of the movie. And also, he looks older. He looks about a year older in the reshoot. I swear to God, he's got less baby face in a year later in that reshoot scene. But so that you're absolutely right. The editing in this movie is not good. It's not good at all. It has a problem. And after that, again, next to the time elapsing, the lack of time continuity, those are my biggest problems. The editing and time continuity. You're having a camera problem there. Wow.
Okay, you were seeing that. I was just making sure.
I'm seeing that. Yeah, I'm totally seeing that. Live television, folks. You never know what's gonna happen. All right, so Christy is wishy-washy. She seems to drift to whichever bigger dick is effing her, and she seems to not be able to stick to her guns on anything. It's always somebody else influences her decisions. So I'm not a fan of Christy of anything. Hell, I'm more of a fan of Vera because Vera knows what she wants.
Yeah, Vera's at least fun, even if she's degenerate and abusive. But no, Christy, I don't buy her relationship with
No, I don't.
Brentley. I don't get their chemistry, and their marriage at the end seems forced. And I can't get invested in any character. The only character that I like is Michael J. Fox, and that's because I like Michael J. Fox's natural charisma, but not his writing. Like, if I just looked objectively at the decisions he makes, the contradictions that I see in them, I wouldn't enjoy his character. Michael J. Fox is just a fun person. And so that saves it a teeny bit for me.
That is, but dude, that's the whole purpose of this movie. This movie is successful because of Michael J. Fox. Anybody else in this role, I don't think this movie works. Not at all. I think the likability of Brantley falls apart. I think you definitely aren't even remotely caring about Christy. You only care about Christy once she's on Brantley's side. And after that, the dude who played Howard, let me check his name again. A character actor of the time, Richard Jordan, he played shitheads. That was his role in the 80s and early 90s. He just played dicks in movies. And
he's very good at it.
Yes, you're always going to root against Howard Prescott. He's a dick. You want to root for Brantley. But like you said, I feel because of the editing and the inability to know the time elapsing of this, I feel a little cheated by the movie. I feel as though I should have seen more here and there throughout it. I would have enjoyed a little more. Here, perfect example. The attempts at comedy. You thought the comedy is not. There's no laugh out loud moments in the movie. There's no real laugh moments in the movie. It's just I have a fun time, but I'm not laughing a fun time.
And the few times they get close to something funny, they take it way too long. Like the musical chairs or musical doors from that night.
That's where I was going.
Yeah, that scene can be funny. It just goes on for like 15 minutes. It's way too long.
There's all those other things. The elevator changing scenes where he's the naked and that. There's certain gags that run a movie. They attempt to do it, but it would have been better if maybe we had not attempted to be so comedic and stayed with the serious a little bit more.
I would agree.
I feel
have more time to flesh out the characters, flesh out the
more
drama,
time with the business, this and that. But
so we actually know what's going on besides buzzwords.
And there is the problem of Michael J. Fox at this time in his career. He was the jokey, fun, happy guy. That's what he was doing at the time. He, as I said, he come off Family Ties, where that's a situation comedy. He had a bunch of movies, including Back to the Future, which are Back to the Future very serious, but had a lot of funny moments in it.
Mm-hmm.
Here he is now, full on leading. I mean, let's also be honest. Back to the Future, Christopher Lloyd is as much the star of that movie as
Oh,
he is.
absolutely.
So this is the first time. I believe this is one of the first times. You know, let me take a quick look here. Let me go to Michael J. Fox. Let me bring up his movie list real quick and go back to the beginning in the 80s. And I will share the screen so that you guys can see what I'm looking at, because that's what you do. You share what you're looking at. So we have this here, and we go all the way back to 87. Secret of My Success, 87. So up until then, Teen Wolf, Back to the Future, those were his big things. And Teen Wolf, again, that's more of a comedy. That's doesn't have too much suspense in it, and it's a teen, and that's a young adult movie. Really, it's not meant for seriousness. But since then, a lot of the stuff in between that, none of the stuff, not really huge. But Secret of My Success really moved him next level. And then 1 year later, he does his first serious movie, Bright Lights, Big City. That's a super serious movie. But one would say a more serious version of The Secret of My Success, where it's a lot more gritty, a lot more seedy about business, stuff like that. And then I'm sorry, Family Ties was still going on during this. Wow, I thought Family Ties was over. So Family Ties is first ending a year later, and then he's in Casualties of War. And you go through all these with your hard way. That's one of my favorite movies. I love him and James Woods in that. I love that movie. That's a fun one. But now you got the early 90s where he is in his peak. I mentioned before, For Love of Money, where he's the hotel one, Life with Mikey.
Why are the reviews so low? IMDb, man.
These are all, but this is leading to what I'm talking about. This is Michael J. Fox. A lot of these movies ride or die with him. And they're either good by his standards or not. I mean, one of them, Greedy. Greedy is an ensemble cast with a lot of powerful comedians at the time, and of course, Kirk Douglas in it as an anchor in that movie. That's something that's what's the word I want to put into that? He blends into that cast, and he's part of a major cast. But up until then, a lot of these things, it's ride or die with him. These movies are successful with him or not, mostly because of him. And this was the movie where they played on his comedic stuff, his soul thing. That's what he was known for. He doesn't start to do serious stuff until a year later with Bright Lights, Big City. So to the whole point of that is they leaned into it with this one. And I think they forced, I think they forced the comedy situation into this where it didn't need to be. And somebody I think realized a year later with Bright Lights, Big City, hey, let's take the idea of Secret of My Success and let's do it serious this time. I've only seen that movie maybe twice in my life and a long ass time ago, so don't quote me on that. But I remember it being a more serious version of this with a lot more risque ideas and this and that in terms of failures and success in business and the corruption that big business can turn in your personal life. Like that's what I think the premise of Bright Lights, Big City is. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong on that. I think they leaned in too far, and I think that's why you're bothered by this. Again, that it's you see what this movie could have been.
Absolutely.
If they hadn't tried to, they blended. The blending, they blended too much.
Yeah, it's a bit schizophrenic, but there is an identity at the heart of this film that is worth preserving and exploring. But between the comedic element, the weird choices with the main character, the writing, and especially the editing, it falls very flat for me. But there's something that could be good, very good in this film.
But it's essentially what it is a classic feel-good 80s movie where you go in, you have a hero. He's up against essentially a villain, and he's going to work his way to victory. It's a mini hero's journey without complication, for lack of a better term. And it works because that's what the 80s were about. Let's just put out a movie. We're not looking to make $1 billion, which is what every movie tries to do nowadays in these modern times. We're looking to put out a movie. We're looking to entertain. And here's also something we have to understand, because I'm going to come back to this now. back then in the 80s and the 90s, even from the 70s as well, a movie was put out as a vehicle for an actor or an actress.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a Michael J. Fox vehicle. And it was successful because it was a Michael J. Fox vehicle. You can't do that anymore today, can you? Do you think anybody can, with the exception of maybe Tom Cruise?
Even Tom Cruise, I don't think is the star that he used to be as much as people like to believe he is, because there was the movie a couple of years ago, like American Dream, that was primarily him. That one bombed. It's American something. I know American is in the title, but that one didn't do very well. Mission Impossible didn't do very well. Tom Cruise, I love Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
And yes, there are extenuating circumstances. I love
the Mission
Tom
Impossible
Cruise,
thing, that's a different discussion. Yeah.
Outside of some of his more major roles like Top Gun Maverick, which is extraordinary, and Mission Impossible, he doesn't have the same weight he used to. I do believe that the death of a movie star, the death of movie stars is very much a thing that occurred.
It is.
There's no individual that could carry a movie like what you're referring to here. No. There are individuals in certain roles that can absolutely do it. There's got to be that combination factor. It's a symbiotic relationship. As we saw, everyone thought after Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr. was going to be a movie star, that any movie he was in was going to be a blast hit.
Yeah, Dr.
Dolittle. We just need to look at that. So yeah, I don't believe anyone, as much as people say Chris Pratt as well, I don't believe that's the case either. I really can't think of anyone that I legitimately think who name alone can sell a movie.
It's not name. I think what it is now. If you got, and it feels like we're going off topic, guys. We're not really, because we're comparing and contrasting what makes this movie work and how this movie wouldn't work today. You couldn't just put this movie out and make it work because it would flop. It worked because of Michael J. Fox, and back then, a name meant something.
Absolutely.
And a name doesn't mean anything anymore. What matters now is story, and unfortunately, and I hate to say this, director means more than actor now in a lot of ways, and I hate that. I hate that because I don't have a lot of respect for directors. So.
I like the transition to the creative people over the actors. I wish it were writers the most, because they're the ones who create the story. They're the ones who make movie stars who they are, and directors have a large part of making that possible. So I'm okay with the transition to them, but I wish it would ultimately be with writers, because no movie star is a movie star without talented writers giving them good material.
Oh, well, look, as you bring up Robin Williams, he was a once in a lifetime talent.
He could do both so well. Like one of my favorite movies, Good Will Hunting.
Yeah, which we've reviewed.
We have.
Check it out, guys. Check the playlist. It's there. It's there. It's on playlist. Of course, it's the playlist. I'm tired. I was up late last night playing video games. But yeah, so I agree with you. I would like it that writers get more credit than directors, because a director may shape a movie, but without a writer, you don't have a movie. And without a writer, an actor can't even begin to create the character, because the writer needs to infuse it, needs to give it life, or needs to give it soul, and then the actor or actress gives it life. And what you had here with Secret of My Success is Michael J. Fox working with very little and putting himself into it, or at the very least, his movie persona that he's been doing for the past several years between television and movies. That is why it works. And you go through this whole movie, whether it's Act 1, everything's falling apart, he's just trying to get by. Act 2, where he has wormed his way into the corner office, I guess. And that's not a corner office. We'll just say middle management, executive management. He's wormed his way in there, and you are enjoying it because Michael J. Fox is putting on a charismatic performance as a guy who's dodging left and right, making sure he's putting on a show that he's smarter than the boomers that are in charge. And then he's overcoming the adversity that comes his way. He's winning the heart of the girl he has affection for. He's still getting it on with his lusty step-aunt. And at the same time, he sees the trouble coming, yet he can't avert it. And that's where I think you could say the hero's journey does sort of happen, where he does suffer the fall because he can't avoid the ultimate fate of getting caught. Now, Jed, you were critical of it, and I think you are rightly critical of the fact that the way he gets out of it is a little weak.
It's very weak and contrived.
He's just a weekend talking with a bunch of big money guys at a party, where are they? I guess it's northern.
Litchburg or Litchfield.
Is that upstate New York? I guess.
I'm guessing it's got to be
Gotta be.
close to the
Gotta
city,
be.
like
Yeah,
a couple
within
hours.
an
Maybe
hour.
it's Long
Yeah.
Island.
I don't think it's Long Island.
No.
I don't know. I lived on Long Island, but I was 5, so I don't remember much.
It's close to the.
Yeah.
It's close to Manhattan.
It's an hour.
At least a couple hours.
Yeah. It's within
At
driving
most.
distance because he took her back there and back before she jumped his bones. Funny thing, when I was a kid and let's just say my perception wasn't as keen. I didn't catch that you can see them wearing the flesh tone underwear underwater. So
Really?
There's no dangly bits.
Well, I figured I didn't catch the.
Hey, listen, when I was a young man, that scene was pretty titillating to me. Because hey, listen, there was no Skinamax yet, or I was too young to have Skinamax, and I'm first understanding I like what I'm seeing. You know, ladies being sexy and this and that, and her bathing suits come off. And when I was a kid, I'm trying to see anything I can at that point. And when I was rewatching it for a show this week, I realized, oh damn, I see the flesh colored bathing suits and underwear. Okay. Little kid me would be very disappointed. There was nothing to see. Then again, you get a full shot of Michael J. Fox's lower half, and I don't need to see his twig and berries. I didn't need to see that, so I'm glad he was wearing flesh-colored bathing suit. But what I'm saying is, you are attached to everything he's going to, and even though the weakness of the overall plot at the end of he just won them over at a conversation, you're still the hero has found a way. And it works because it's 80s and it's light. And it's the point. This movie's not meant to be deep. I think that's the saving grace of it for me. It's not meant to be deep. It's surface level to the ultimate surface level. It has minor setups and payoffs. And you leave with a smile on your face. At least I always leave with a smile on my face. And here's one more little thing that I love. SUCCESS. That's the way you spell success. When you're in grade school and you're trying to spell, that worked for me. I don't remember all my life, that is how I remember to spell success. SUCCESS. That's the way you spell success. Cheesy as hell, but that has a special place for me because it got me through many a avoided spelling error growing up. All right. I think I've said all I can say. Jen, do you want to add anything else to this? Because again, these are these service level movies. There's not a lot of depth to this, so. But I still love your opinion on this because I know you like depth. And when I give you these shallow movies, I love to see your reaction because this isn't gotta say, it's not a hateful movie. There's nothing to hate about it.
No, I definitely don't hate it.
Yeah.
I just, my smile at the end was more a smile of bewilderment. Like, what did I just watch type smile? But yes, of course, I do have a preference for more thoughtful movies, a little bit deeper movies. If I feel mentally satisfied after watching a movie, I consider that a great movie. But of course, there's going to be a place for movies like this. They shouldn't be rated as high as well thought out movies. I don't believe that, it's supposed to be dumb is an excuse to wipe away all criticism. But there's 100% a place for movies like this in cinema that might not appeal to me, but of course appeal to plenty other people. So it's just not for me at the end of the day.
I have the perfect definition. This is a safe movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's a movie, and when I watched it a week ago, I put it on while I was grinding playing a video game. It was company. It's safe. It's not offensive. Michael J. Fox is fun to watch, and you have a genuine, regular good time. You're not blown away. This movie doesn't blow anybody away, but it's a regular good time where you put this movie in, and you know you're not going to feel miserable. At least I'm not. I don't think people are going to feel miserable.
Not miserable.
Yeah, I'm not miserable. And again, God, I'm saying again too much. I need to stop the verbal tick.
You're using again?
Again. I'm noticing my verbal ticks as we start in 2024. I'm trying to eliminate them.
I'm writing again for my new book, and I've started to notice some things that I used to regularly.
The writing verbal ticks are the worst, especially when you go through and edit. You realize, oh shit, I did it. That's what editing's for, though. That's what editing's for. How many times did I say that? How many times did I say just? How many times did I say now?
That was the one today, just as the one that bit me in the ass today. I was like,
That's
I feel
the
like I
one.
just said that one, so I searched, and it's like 50 times. I'm like, I'm almost 20,000 words in, so 50 times isn't that bad, but that's way more than I thought it was.
See, I edit by chapter when I do stuff.
So am I.
Yeah, but when I'm reading it, and when I realize that happens, it's oh shit, I did it again. But editing is your friend, and this movie, as we agreed, could have served with better editing. Could have served some, especially continuity editing. It could have served with little more focus on the actual serious business stuff than the forced comedy. And it would have helped if the other characters, with the exception of Mailroom Buddy's fine. He's a got your back bro. Which is
true, but his rise to the top, I don't think is warranted.
He doesn't. I don't think he has a rise to the top. I think he's her boy toy at the end. I think that's all he is.
True, but his whole thing is, I hate suits. They're evil. And by the end, he's wearing a suit and acting all posh and fancy.
Greed is king.
Greed is
good. Greed is good. Money changes everything, and that is the secret to your success. Money. Having the money, let's ask this question going on. What is Brantley Foster's secret to his success? Having his aunt who knew a bunch of business dudes who would back him.
It's who you know, not what you know.
And it's
who you blow.
Well, who's blowing you? Because she was blowing you. Anyway, There you go, guys. Secret of my success. There's no real soundtrack to speak of. It was 80s stuff, 80s pop music thrown in there. And a little jokey comedy music, nothing to speak of. Anyway, all right, it was my week. Therefore, I get to grade it first. I've already laid out everything just now. So I'm going to give it a flat 7 out of 10 because it is entertaining. It is safe. It is not, it's not offensive. And it is simple fun, which is something, as Jed pointed out, modern day movies have lost. They've lost that category of simple fun that you can watch. There's no agenda in this, not really. It's just business. And that's what the 80s was about, business. And they made movies about that stuff. So 7 out of 10. Jed, I have a feeling you're going to be lower than me.
It's definitely going to be a lower score for me. So I've kind of said my piece on it. It's just not a type of movie for me. I don't believe that being fun or good at what it is, which is being an empty escapist film, is necessarily enough to warrant a higher score than what it is. Of course, it still has a place. Still, of course, it can be highly enjoyable subjectively, but I think it more warrants a 4 out of 10.
Oh, wow. Okay. But again, this is going to happen because remember, I'm an old man. Jed isn't. There's going to come times where I want to watch something from the 80s that he hasn't seen before. Hell, he just saw Alien for the first time.
And that had the other reaction, though. I've watched it 10 times now.
Yeah, that's a different, but then again, different type of movie. Completely
very different type of movie.
This is a very light, not serious movie where you're just supposed to, and that's right. All right, Jed, what do we got coming up next week? It's your choice.
All right, so continuing the 70s sci-fi trend started with Alien. We're going to be watching a movie that I actually just watched the novelization for in preparation for this. We're going to be watching the 70s sci-fi Disney. I don't know if you call it cult classic.
Cult classic. Lot of people,
it's
a cult classic.
Cult classic. The Black Hole. I've had a lot of people tell me to watch it. I haven't seen it yet. I have read the book, though, so I'm excited to see what it is. I really don't know what to expect because the end of the book was weird. I'm wondering if the movie has
The end of the movie is weird.
Okay, then it's probably the same ending.
The physics makes no sense.
That sounds about right.
And guys, it's been 30 years since I've seen Black Hole, so I might as well be watching it for the first time again.
You watched it in theaters?
No, not that old. Dude, it's my birthday next week. I'm feeling old enough as it is. Don't do this to me.
Sorry to kick you while you're down.
I am down. Anyway, yeah, all right. So Black Hole next week. It should be a good one. We hope you enjoyed it, guys. If you had a good time watching now live or on the replay on both our channels, which will be simulcast going forward all the way, hit that like button. Check out our channel. Subscribe. Links in the descriptions below. We will see you next time. Until then, guys, take it easy. Have a good night or day wherever you may be.